A tropical cyclone is rapidly developing north of Australia. Heavy rain, strong winds and significant coastal impacts are on the way for parts of Queensland and the Northern Territory. This system is worth your attention. I've been examining the latest data from the Bureau of Meteorology, tracking this low pressure system as it intensifies in the Coral Sea. The models are showing strong agreement on development, though there's still some uncertainty about the exact track. Let me walk you through what we know, what we don't know, and what you need to prepare for. Right now, conditions across northern Australia are setting up perfectly for tropical cyclone development. Sea surface temperatures in the Coral Sea are sitting at 29 to 30 degrees Celsius. That's well above the 26.5 degree threshold needed for cyclone formation. The monsoon trough is active and we've got low wind shear across the region. All the ingredients are there. The system that got our attention formed as a tropical low 3 days ago, positioned roughly 500 kilometres northeast of Cairns. Since then, it has been slowly organising. This morning, satellite imagery shows the convection wrapping more tightly around the centre. The pressure has dropped to 1,002 hectopascals. That is a solid indication of strengthening. The Bureau of Meteorology issued the first tropical cyclone watch yesterday evening for coastal areas between Cooktown and Mackay. As of 6 p.m. Eastern tonight, that watch remains in place. A cyclone watch means that cyclones may affect the watch area within 48 hours. It doesn't mean a cyclone will definitely hit, but conditions favour development and movement toward the coast. Let me explain what the computer models are showing. The Access model that the Bureau primary forecasting tool has been consistent for the past 3 runs. It develops this system into a Category 2 cyclone by Thursday morning, then tracks it west-southwest toward the far north Queensland coast. Landfall is forecast somewhere between Innisfail and Cairns late Thursday night or early Friday morning. The GFS model, the American Global Model, agrees with the intensification timeline but has the track slightly further north. It brings the system ashore closer to Cooktown. The European model sits somewhere in the middle. All 3 major models agree on a few key points. This system will strengthen, it will move toward the coast, and it will bring significant impacts to far north Queensland. The uncertainty at this stage is the exact landfall location. We're re-looking at a potential impact zone stretching roughly 200 kilometres of coastline. That's the nature of tropical cyclone forecasting 3 days out. The track will become clearer over the next 24 hours as the System S steering currents become better defined. Here what we're expecting in terms of intensity. Current estimates have this system reaching Category 2 on the Australian scale by Thursday. That means sustained winds of 100 to 120 kilometres per hour, with gusts potentially reaching 150. It's not a Tracy level event. Cyclone Tracy, Christmas Eve 1974, was Category 4 at landfall with winds up to 217 kilometres per hour. That destroyed Darwin. This system 1T reached those extremes. But Category 2 is still serious. It is still a dangerous cyclone that requires preparation and respect. If you are in far north Queensland from Cooktown down through Cairns to Innisfail, you are in the potential impact zone. Even if the cyclone doesn't make landfall directly at your location, you are going to feel significant effects from this system. The rain is going to be substantial. Current forecasts from the Bureau suggest 150 to 300 millimetres across the coastal fringe from Wednesday through Saturday. Some areas, particularly around the ranges where orographic lift comes into play, could see upwards of 400 millimetres. That serious rainfall in a short period. Flash flooding is a real concern, especially in low-lying areas and along creeks and rivers. Innisfail, you've been through this before. January 2011, Cyclone Yasi. Category 5. 185 kilometres per hour, sustained winds at landfall near Mission Beach, widespread devastation across the region. This system isn't forecast to reach Yasi intensity, but you know what tropical cyclones can do. You know the damage potential. Don't become complacent just because it's predicted as Category 2. For coastal areas, storm surge is going to be a factor. The Bureau S modelling suggests a surge of 1 to 2 metres above the highest astronomical tide, coinciding with high tide Thursday night. That puts low-lying coastal communities at risk of inundation. If you are in beachfront properties or near tidal areas, you need to be monitoring this closely and following advice from the SES. Wind damage will be concentrated in a relatively narrow band around the point of landfall. Category 2 winds can strip roofs, bring down trees and cause structural damage to poorly constructed buildings. If you in an older Queenslander-style home, make sure you've secured loose items, checked your roof tie-downs and have a plan if you need to move to a more solid structure. The timing looks like this. Wednesday, conditions start to deteriorate along the coast. Winds pick up, rain becomes persistent, seas build to 3 to 5 metres. Thursday morning, the cyclone is expected to be at peak intensity offshore. Through Thursday afternoon and into Thursday night, it makes its approach to the coast. Landfall sometime late Thursday night or the very early hours of Friday morning. Friday, the system rapidly weakens as it moves inland, but heavy rain continues across inland areas of North Queensland. That inland rain is worth discussing. Once the cyclone crosses the coast and the circulation breaks down, you're left with a moisture-rich low-pressure system moving west. That moisture gets dumped over the Atherton tablelands across to the Gulf country. Areas that are already saturated from recent wet season rain are going to see more. The potential for riverine flooding increases, particularly along the Barron River, the Johnstone, the Tully. For those in Cairns, you are right in the middle of the forecast impact zone. The city has good cyclone-resistant construction standards after the lessons learnt from historical events. But there are still vulnerabilities. The Cairns Esplanade is at risk from storm surge. Low-lying suburbs around the airport could see flooding from both storm surge and heavy rainfall. The Barron River has flooded Cairns before. It can happen again if we get the forecast rainfall totals. Townsville, you are on the southern edge of the watch area. The current forecast track takes the system well north of you, but you are still going to cop heavy rain and strong winds, particularly Wednesday and Thursday. Coastal erosion, localised flooding in the usual problem areas. Keep an eye on the Ross River. Moderate flood levels are possible if we get persistent heavy rain across the catchment. Across the Northern Territory, particularly around the top end, you're feeling the broader effects of the active monsoon. Darwin has been humid and stormy all week. That pattern continues. You are not in the direct path of this cyclone, but the monsoon trough is pumping moisture right across the region. Catherine, the Gulf country, the Tiwi Islands, all seeing daily thunderstorms and heavy rainfall. For central Queensland, from Mackay south, you were outside the cyclone watch area, but you were not missing out on the weather. A separate trough is moving through, interacting with tropical moisture. Rockhampton, Gladstone, Bundaberg, you're looking at showers and storms through the week. Not cyclone related, but still worth noting. Some areas could see 50 to 100 millimetres. Southeast Queensland, Brisbane, the Gold Coast, the Sunshine Coast, you well removed from the cyclone itself. You are seeing the effects of a different weather pattern. Warm and humid conditions, scattered afternoon storms, but nothing severe. The tropical activity up north doesn't directly impact you, though there is always a flow-on effect with moisture and instability. Let me talk about what you should be doing if you in the affected areas. If you in the cyclone watch zone, now is the time to finalise your preparations. Don't wait until Wednesday when conditions deteriorate. Secure your property. Anything loose outside becomes a projectile in cyclone winds. Outdoor furniture, trampolines, tools, building materials, rubbish bins, either bring them inside or secure them properly. Check your roof. Look for loose tiles or sheeting. Trim overhanging branches that could damage your house or power lines. Stock up on essentials. Not panic buying, just sensible preparation. Water, non-perishable food, batteries, torches, a battery-powered or hand crank radio. Make sure you've got any medications you need. If you've got a generator, test it now. Make sure you've got fuel. Don't wait until the power is already out. Fuel up your vehicles. If you need to evacuate or if power outages affect service stations, you want full tanks. Same with cash. ATMs don't work without power. If you are in a caravan or temporary structure, relocate now. These buildings are not designed for cyclone winds. Move to solid accommodation. Contact your local council or SES if you need assistance with evacuation. Have your important documents ready. Insurance papers, identification, medical records. Keep them in a waterproof container. Take photos of your property before the cyclone hits. This helps with insurance claims if you sustain damage. Know your zone. The SES has cyclone zones for evacuation purposes. Know which zone you are in and what that means for evacuation timing. If you are in a storm surge evacuation zone and the SES issues an evacuation order, leave immediately. Storm surge can be deadly. Don T, risk it. Stay informed. The Bureau of Meteorology updates their warnings every few hours. Monitor ABC local radio, check the BOM website, follow official emergency services social media. Don T, rely on rumours or unverified information. Stick to official sources. For those with livestock, this is a difficult situation. Get animals into shelter if you can. Higher ground away from floodplains. Make sure they've got access to food and water that want to be contaminated by floodwater. Some graziers open gates to give cattle the freedom to move to higher ground. That's a decision you need to make based on your property and the risks. If you're rethinking about riding this one out when you have the option to leave, think carefully. Category 2 is serious. Yes, many buildings in far north Queensland are built to withstand this, but not all. If you re in an older or poorly maintained structure, consider relocating. If you re in a storm surge zone, definitely relocate. There's no shame in seeking safer shelter. Better to be overcautious than caught out. The post-cyclone phase is often more dangerous than the event itself. Fallen power lines, damaged buildings, flooded roads, contaminated water supplies. Don T, go sightseeing. Stay home unless you absolutely need to travel. If you do need to travel, watch for debris on roads. Never drive through floodwater and be alert for damaged infrastructure. Power outages could last several days in the worst hit areas. Ergon Energy will have crews pre-positioned, but if there's widespread damage, restoration takes time, particularly in remote areas. Be prepared to be self-sufficient for at least 72 hours. Let me put this in historical context. Far North Queensland has seen its share of tropical cyclones. You are in one of the most cyclone-prone regions of Australia. Cyclone Larry, March 2006, Category 5 at landfall near Innisfail. Destroyed the banana industry, caused massive structural damage. That was a severe event. Cyclone Yasi, February 2011, Category 5 near Mission Beach. The largest cyclone to make landfall in Australia since records began. Cardwell was devastated. This system, based on current forecasts, 1T reached the intensity of Larry or Yasi. But every cyclone is different. Every cyclone brings its own risks. A Category 2 in the right location with the right combination of surge timing and rainfall can still cause significant damage and disruption. The other factor to consider is the wet season context. We already 6 weeks into the wet season. The ground is saturated across much of North Queensland. Rivers are already running high. That reduces the landscape's ability to absorb additional rainfall. It means flash flooding happens faster, riverine flooding is more likely, and landslides become a risk in steep terrain. The monsoon has been particularly active this season. That's partly due to a neutral ENSO phase, neither El Niño nor La Niña, which often leads to average to above average rainfall across northern Australia during summer. The Madden-Julian Oscillation is also in a phase that enhances tropical activity in our region. That's why we're re-seeing this cyclone development and why we need to remain vigilant for additional systems over the coming weeks. Looking beyond this immediate cyclone, the broader pattern across Australia shows continued tropical activity in the north, settled conditions across much of the south, though that is changing. A cold front is working its way across the southern states later this week. That brings a temperature drop and showers to Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania. Not related to the northern cyclone, just the normal progression of weather systems in the southern latitudes. For the national picture, we've got this divide between the tropical north, where it's warm, humid and stormy, and the temperate south, where we're re-seeing more variable conditions. That S typical for January. The monsoon dominates the top end and North Queensland. The subtropical ridge sits across the central belt. The southern ocean fronts affect the southern states. 3 distinct weather zones across the continent. Coming back to the cyclone, the next critical update from the Bureau will be tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. That S when we'll have a better idea of the overnight strengthening and the refined track forecast. If the system intensifies faster than expected or if the track shifts significantly, the watch could be upgraded to a warning. A cyclone warning means the cyclone is expected to affect the warning area within 24 hours. That S when preparation time is over and you need to be in your safe location. The SES will be issuing advice through local media, their website and social media. They are the lead agency for cyclone response. If they tell you to evacuate, evacuate. They don't make these calls lightly. They based on the best available information about the threat to your area. For schools in the affected regions, most will close Wednesday as a precautionary measure. That S standard procedure when a cyclone watch is in place. Keep an eye on school communications. If you need to make arrangements for children, do that Tuesday. Flights in and out of Cairns Airport will likely be disrupted from Wednesday afternoon through Friday. If you've got travel planned, check with your airline. Expect delays and cancellations. The airport may close entirely if winds reach certain thresholds. That's a safety decision, not negotiable. Port operations will be affected. Cairns Port, Townsville Port, they'll secure operations well before the cyclone arrives. If you re-involved in maritime industries, you know the drill. Vessels need to be secured or moved to safe harbour. For tourists in far north Queensland, particularly in Cairns, Port Douglas, the islands, follow the advice of your accommodation providers and local authorities. If you are on an island resort, evacuation may be necessary. Don T treat this as an adventure. Take it seriously. This is a developing situation. The forecast will be updated multiple times a day. What I've outlined here is based on the information available as of this evening. By tomorrow, we'll know more. The track could shift, the intensity forecast could change, the timing might adjust. That's the nature of tropical cyclone forecasting. We're re-dealing with a chaotic atmospheric system that doesn't follow a predictable path. What doesn't change is the need for preparation. Whether this ends up as a Category 1 or a Category 3, whether it hits Cairns or Cooktown, the fundamentals remain the same. Secure your property, stock up on supplies, have a plan, stay informed, follow official advice. Tropical cyclones are part of life in Northern Australia. You know this. Many of you have been through multiple events. That experience is valuable. Use it. But Don T let familiarity breed complacency. Each system is unique. Each system deserves respect. For the rest of Australia watching this unfold, it is a reminder of the power of tropical weather systems. These events are confined to the northern coast during summer, but they are a significant part of our national weather patterns. The rainfall they bring when they penetrate inland can be crucial for drought breaking in Central Australia. The destructive potential along the coast is balanced by the life-giving rain they deliver to the interior. Keep an eye on the Bureau of Meteorology tropical cyclone updates. They've got excellent graphics showing the forecast track, the wind radii, the timing. The BOEM app is worth having on your phone if you're in cyclone-prone regions. Real-time warnings, radar, satellite imagery, all in one place. Stay safe. Be prepared. Look after your mates and neighbours, especially the elderly or those who might need assistance. If you see someone who hasn't prepared, give them a hand. That's the Australian way. We look after each other when the weather turns nasty. I'll be monitoring this system closely and providing updates as the situation develops. For now, that's the assessment. A tropical cyclone is forming. It's moving toward far north Queensland. It will bring significant impacts and preparation is essential. Check the Bureau of Meteorology for the latest official warnings. Follow your local SES advice. Stay informed, stay safe.